My name is Ivan, and I've been in an intense workplace rivalry with my coworker Fred for the past 3 years that we've both been at this company. We got hired around the same time, and we formed a rivalry. The rivalry started off small and silly, like Fred stealing my lunches, or me leaving some snack wrappers on his desk. However, in the last 3 years, it escalated, and now Fred tries to make me lose clients. So, I started some rumors around the office that Fred cheats on all his girlfriends. I felt some satisfaction that now every woman in our office who might try and date Fred now thought he was a cheater. He retaliated by rubbing it in my face that he was getting married, and I wasn't getting invited, but everyone else in our department was. It was also news around the office, thanks to gossiping secretaries, that my marriage was falling apart after 5 years. My wife Tracy liked to tell me that she wasn't happy with our relationship anymore, and she needed something more exciting. After 5 years of marriage, I wasn't exciting enough for her. I was trying though. We were currently going through a divorce, but to me, she was still my wife. No one else in the office knew about the divorce, just that we were having marriage problems, and I wanted it to stay that way. I hoped to change her mind. After I started the rumor about Fred being a cheater, he admitted it to me that he'd cheated on his exes, almost like he was proud of it. But he seemed annoyed that I worked it into every conversation about his upcoming wedding. He hated that I didn't take this marriage seriously. Whatever. What would you know about marriage anyway? Oh, and your client online Ford just canceled. I don't need your help, Fred. A wedding isn't fun anyway besides the food. What would a cheater know about marriage anyway? He lost me another client. That was why he came over to talk to me. To gloat about his upcoming wedding and stealing my clients. What an asshole. At the end of the night, I went home to my wife. Like always, I told Tracy about my work, and she barely listened. She wasn't even home all the time. The least she could do was listen.
That's great.
No, it's not. Fred lost me another client today, and then gloated about his stupid fancy wedding and how he wasn't inviting me.
Maybe you're overreacting?
Tracy loved to say I was overreacting about everything at work. It frustrated me that she never believed me. She called me boring, but she refused to even listen to me. The only hope I still had to change her mind about the divorce was that she hadn't stopped living in our house. If she wanted it over, she would have left. I'm not overreacting. He keeps taking my clients' calls and stealing them. I'm losing money. Taking my clients is probably the only reason he can afford such a fancy wedding anyway.
When is this wedding happening again?
What does it matter? We're not invited. In 3 months, Fred will be married and more annoying than ever. My rivalry with Fred at work continued leading up to the wedding. Every day I lost another client, and now I was struggling financially too. This was the last straw for Tracy, who sat me down with the divorce papers a few weeks later to sign everything.
After these are signed, I'm handing them to the lawyers and the divorce will be finalized in 2 months. Then I'm out of here.
I should have refused to sign the papers, but I didn't. Why she was even going to stay in the house until the divorce was finalized was beyond me, but it meant I had some time to change her mind. We should crash Fred's wedding. That would be exciting.
Oh. No. The divorce finalizes before then.
That attempt to win her back failed, and soon it was back to work for me. As the wedding grew closer, Fred stopped taking so many of my clients. It meant I could spend some money on some small gifts for Tracy, even if she was hardly home. One night I came home with flowers about a week before our divorce was final. Tracy smacked the flowers out of my hand.
I don't want your stupid gifts. We're not a couple, it's just pathetic.
I didn't ask you to stay here. You stayed, which means I have a chance. You could have gotten your own place.
Why would I want to pay for my own place? You'd never kick me out, you're too much of a loser.
That was enough. I was sick of being called a pathetic loser, just because I wanted to repair our relationship. If she wanted me to be more spontaneous and fun, then I would be. Fine. Get out. I don't care where. Just get out of my house.
Screw you too.
I was surprised that she didn't argue, but it seemed she planned for this. Tracy left the house with a few bags she must have packed weeks ago. She didn't look back. The next few days at work were horrible. All I could think about was Tracy and I couldn't work right. A client yelled at me, and I had to cry in my car on my break. That didn't escape my coworkers' notice. Tough day? Get your cheating ass away from me. I'm not in the mood. First your ex-wife, walks out on you and then you can't even handle your clients? I'd had enough of Fred walking all over me, and I was going to make sure he knew it. That day I stayed late at work and went through Fred's client list. I waited until the day of his wedding and then snuck into the ceremony. A few guests gave me strange looks, but no one cared that I hadn't been invited. Nothing could have prepared me for the sight of Tracy walking up the aisle as the bride. So, the bitch had waited until our divorce was finalized to get married. She timed it perfectly, so I couldn't do anything. I waited until the reception and made my move just after the best man toasted Fred. I pushed my way to the main table and grabbed the microphone. I've known Fred for a few years, and you all think he's great. But he loves stealing my clients at work, and my lunch, and even my wife. I laughed through my speech. Tracy and Fred looked at me in horror. Fred tried to grab the microphone, and the room went quiet. Ivan, buddy, what are you doing? You weren't invited. I wasn't stopping there. My revenge changed since Tracy was involved, but I wasn't going to stop until I'd said everything I needed to. I actually wanted to share the news that I landed my biggest client ever. Yeah, I actually pulled myself together and called your mom. I'd been holding on to this secret since it had happened. Fred's mom had been Fred's client since we'd started at the company, one of his biggest buyers, and now she was mine. I also told her how much of a cheater and homewrecker he was, and that she shouldn't approve of his marriage. My mom? When did you talk to her?
Fred, honey, what does Ivan mean by that?
I should explain. Everyone welcome Fred's mother, our company's biggest supporter, now my client. Now also my ex-wife's mother-in-law. What a small world. Right on cue, Fred's mother stood from the table. She had a look of disapproval on her face all night.
It's true. Ivan told me all about your cheating at work and with your dates, and I decided that I'd raised you better than that, Freddie. You've really disappointed me.
Everyone watching was shocked by this news. The maid of honor, Tracy's friend, was even so shocked she spilled her drink all over Tracy's white dress. Tracy's sister was angry since she had a bad experience with cheating boyfriends, and even slapped Tracy across the face. Eventually, I was escorted out for causing a scene, but I didn't care. At work, the next week, everyone knew what I'd done. But now, I cared for our biggest client, and there wasn't much they could say about it. Fred took a financial hit without his mother's support, and being exposed as a cheater and a homewrecker in the office meant that our other coworkers stopped helping Fred. I could tell Fred was struggling, especially with a new wife to care about. Tracy's life didn't look much better. I'd see her after work sometimes in the parking lot, fighting with Fred about his car they couldn't afford to fix. It was clear from her growing belly that she was pregnant with Fred's kid, something she'd never wanted. On the news the next night, there was a report of a bad car wreck. It was Fred and Tracy. They couldn't afford to fix the car, and something had gone terribly wrong. It put both of them in the hospital, last I heard. At least I had a brand new car, one that Tracy never would have let me get, and a job Fred couldn't touch. Thanks for watching.